Truth to Hear and social media shows welcomes you to Truth Talk. Hello, I'm Melanie Keenan, and I'm your hostess at evening. In today's society, there is way too many people being hurt by other people's actions. Way too many groups of people, communities, and individuals. And few people are actually taking the time to speak together and to speak out for the hurting. And I think it is woe to us in the church, the body of Christ, who see and hear what is going on in our society today and don't ask, how can we be part of the solution? That is what Truth Talk is all about, being part of the solution for today's problems in America and across the world. I'm joined today by our returning guest panelist, Bill Coffman. He's a retired deputy sheriff who believes that an open dialogue about our current events can reshape the world. Hi, Bill.
Hello, Melanie. Thanks for having me.
And returning, we have Jacqueline Keenan. Jacqueline hopes to bring understanding of how and why the young generations are desperately seeking to try to fix the world we live in. Welcome back, Jacqueline.
Hi, thank you. I'm very excited to have this discussion with you guys today.
Thank you. We are too. And Brandy Hunt. Brandy is an author and publisher. Brandy strives to bring different perspectives to the forefront. She hopes to bring those perspectives to the conversation of racism so that we can all learn, grow, and heal together. Welcome, Brandy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And we have Bonnie Traylor. Bonnie is a pastor here and desires to work with others to seek justice with love and mercy, walking together before God. Hello, Bonnie. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Well, last week we talked about the rise of the unrest in America and what caused it. This week we want to show what has happened in society in the past so we don't revisit it in the future. We want to look at some of the hard issues that has shaped America today, the way we have it right now, and then go forward into what are some solutions? How do we make changes that really affect all of society, not just one and not just the other? But before we get into those hard topics, I want to ask a question to the panel and to you listening. And feel free to comment and we'll address your comments during the show. Is there a correlation between the unrest and resilience we see in America and the restrictions placed upon our society due to COVID-19? What do you think? Bill, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I think it definitely has something to do with it. We're a society where I'm almost 60 years old, and we've got a young people here. Nobody alive has ever been told so many restrictions in their life. Not people older than me, younger than me. And I don't know if we're handling that too well. I do know as law enforcement, I am retired, but I still work for the department as an annuitant position. And I can say that when we started opening up again out here in Southern California, when we started opening up, people were just going nuts. Alcohol and drugs. We had so many overdoses. It was we're just getting called to overdoses constantly, and maybe because and the COVID thing, I actually think that has exactly to do with it. It was so bottled up that they just said, hey, let's just do whatever we want to do. You can't do whatever you want to do in life, though, because there's consequences to everything. So I saw a lot of that just recently, people fighting, getting in a lot of trouble real quick, more so than before. So I think it definitely should. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear about the overdoses, not about the use of it, but about the alarming numbers of overdoses. Bonnie, I saw you shake your head as well. You have anything to add to that?
Well, I think that, at the beginning of the lockdown, people kind of got ready and then the first week was kind of fun because, a lot of people didn't have to go to work, and, you could do some things from home. And the second week wasn't quite so fun. And, by the time you're 6 weeks into it, um, there's a real sense of isolation. And I don't think that human beings were intended to be so alone. And I think that there's been, I know in my family, we've had some severe mental health consequences, some depression and some, it's been hard. And I'm hearing that from a lot of people, in the church and community, that it was just really difficult when you can't, all of your normal coping mechanisms, getting out, going and doing things, hanging out with people, are cut off. um, there's a lot of stress involved with people losing their jobs and, income, and having to apply for unemployment. There's a lot of contributing factors, I think, to the sense of frustration and hopelessness that a lot of people have.
Yeah, you talk about depression and isolation, and it made me think about how are people dealing with that when they're quarantined or stay at home ordered. And the internet, let me tell you, that's a big thing. Like, there's people that I know that are letting their younger children have more time on the internet and their screen time because they don't know what else to do with these children. They can't go to play dates. They can't go to friends' house. They have no sports activities. And that's where I think a lot of people are being influenced by what is being heard. Even the older generation, we spend more time on the news media than we did when we worked and had activities and events to go to. So we're hearing more of the news, more of the unrest. We're seeing more. We have nothing else to do but look at this stuff. If your life before was so full of activities and it's all been taken away. So I think that helps us to be influenced one way or the other, not necessarily by facts, even though. See, that's the problem. There's so much non-factual fiction information going on, but nevertheless, it's influencing people. Brandy, what do you think?
Melanie, I wanted to say
Okay.
something about a song from the 60s, 70s, 60s, Buffalo Springfield. And I know I'm an old person, but it was even before my time. But it said there's people in the streets and they're protesting and they're doing this, but mostly, and I thought this was a really good line in the song. It said, mostly saying hooray for our side. And that's the problem I see with social media and the internet. If all you'll do is click on people who agree with you and bolster your argument only, then that's exactly what that song was talking about. Mostly just saying hooray for our side. I don't want my side to be heard only. I don't want anybody's side to be heard only, because nobody's always right. I need to listen to everybody, young, old, black, white, tall, short. I don't care. Need to listen to each other. And that's not happening right now. And I think social media is a reason. So I didn't mean to butt in there, Jacqueline.
No, I think that's true. Is this a black white thing? Is this a black versus cop thing? I think it should not be. It's really a humanity thing. It's a control thing. It's a authoritative thing. It's seeing that we do not continue in the path that we are in and have been since the 1950s and even earlier than that. It's about seeing where we are, recognizing it from every angle, and then saying, how do we fix it, for all of humanity? And you're right, if we only agree with people and we only listen to the people and have in our corner the people that agree with us, we're never going to grow. We're never going to make a difference. And we're never going to be a light to Jesus. We're never going to be that. So, Jacqueline, what about you?
Yeah, I do. I definitely think that COVID has a lot to do with just the unrest in society right now. I think we find ourselves depending on the government and depending on leadership even more than we ever have. All eyes are always on the government now since quarantine. And a lot of us feel like there isn't that exact clear leadership. So people are starting to see the issues that the government does have and the flaws in the government even more now than ever. So I think a lot of people, we all have time. So we're just going to work towards and fix those flaws that we see, because there's nothing really else for us to do.
Right. And your generation, Jacqueline, I love that you're on the show because you give us a unique perspective. Your generation is really out there wanting to make a difference, and you're not afraid of research, and you're the tech people. You know how to find it. You know how to do deep dives. You know how to gather information, and then you explode with it, So we're really appreciative that we have someone representing your generation and your passion with us tonight. Well, when we come back from a short commercial break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the changes in society that we have now and how that relates to changes in society in the past that was also monumental in changing how we live and work and just, how we communicate with each other, how we work together with one another, and how we see the authority in our lives. When we come back, thank you.
We are now
mixed up on my paperwork.
We are now reaching our second year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social Media Shows Network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episode celebration, and $100 giveaway. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more.
Are you ready to hear about the most amazing competition coming your way? It's the Gifts of Talent virtual competition, where you can dance, sing, act, do comedy, all in the comfort of your own home. And a portion of the proceeds goes to feeding the youth. You have a chance to win some amazing prizes. Have fun!
To enter, go to whalerscreation.us, or, for more details, go to socialmediashows.com and hishopnation.com. Or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to get updates, and to vote for your favorite talent.
Welcome back to Truth Talk. Before the break, we were talking about COVID restrictions and the changes in society and how we think, the majority of us do, that it does have a role in the tensions in America, the resilience that we're seeing in keeping things in the forefront and fighting the battle of racism. Some of those things, we talked about stresses. People are, like Jacqueline said, are on government funded aid that built their businesses up for generations. And because they were forced to close down, they've lost them. We have businesses that were forced to take loans from the government in order to keep their businesses running. We have people who are on unemployment that have never taken a dime of unemployment in their entire life. And for middle-aged to older generation of people, there's a sense of pride in working and building your career and building everything that you have. And now they're stuck in this place that they never thought they'd be, and they have no choice in it. And then you have the social interaction. No more than 5 or 10 people, depending on where you are. Family gatherings are on Zoom. Birthday parties. Graduation was, to me, a horrible thing. I applaud those who made it the best they could. And I saw some wonderful graduation ceremonies and blogs or vlogs, but it's still so different than what we're used to. Going to hospitals, you have to leave. I had a friend, he called and he was he was virtually in tears because he had to leave his wife at the door of the hospital to have surgery, and they weren't sure how she was going to fare, but he had to leave her at the door of the hospital, could not even walk in with her. These things, it rips the fabric of who we are as a society in America. It changes us. Wearing masks, it takes away our emotion. You can't see if we're smiling at you or we're laughing. There's something about seeing your face that makes us connect. It makes us say, I see you, I get you, or even, well, I hate you. We know, but we can't see that anymore. Everybody's just this blanket face with some eyes. And if you're like me and Bonnie, you wear glasses, well, you even have less of a face to look at. How we are handling this, and then the exposure, as we said before the break, with all the news, all the deep dives, all the social media, they're telling their side the way they want it to be told. Right or wrong, I'm not judging it, but they're telling their side. And I think it's making people feel bold in what they believe in. It's allowing them to come out and say, you know what, I don't have to go to a job. I can say that I am a racist. I can say the N word if I want. No one's going to care. I'm on government funded income right now. I'm not going back to work. What can anyone do to me? I do believe having a social economic platform where people work every day, they work around people of different cultures, of different socioeconomic backgrounds, it makes us more pliable,
Yeah, I actually 100% agree with you on that one, because I think when you get to know people individually, I remember in my Army days, now that was, a long time ago, obviously, but when I was a young man, I went in the Army, and I still remember my drill sergeant to say, there are no black people or white people or anybody in between here. There are only green people. And because you're wearing a green uniform, and that's all you are. And I have so many lifelong friends from my military days. I don't care where they were from, inner city of Chicago. We had a guy that was a black guy from the inner city of Chicago. He had reddish hair and freckles, so his nickname was Opie when he was a kid. And he was the toughest man I ever met almost. And he even said, you grew up in my neighborhood with red hair and freckles. You had to fight every day. But he was a great guy. He still is a great guy. But you get to know people, and all those barriers get to fall down. It's only like when we don't know each other, you're just a picture or somebody's name, but not really a person to you, that these things can actually happen. So like they're happening now, I think.
Yeah. What do we do with that? I got an email, and it's for the show. And it says this. I'm just going to read it because it's horrifying to me. It says, I pulled into the elementary school my kids all attend. This was yesterday. And it says the staff arrived to find horrible graffiti of a hangman. And please forgive me for what I'm about to say. And the words super nigga. It's unbelievable, repulsive, and disturbing that any person would or could promote lynching in an elementary school campus. And this person went on to say she refuses to condone that her child has to live in this world. But she says this, she says, are the recent events creating racism, or are the racists now coming out more because of the recent events? Let me ask you this. Now, this person's taking it to the city council. She wants it to be publicly, you know, what's the word?
Acknowledge.
Denounced. Yes. But is this something that we're going to be looking at again? You know, I haven't seen stuff like that in a very long time. You know, and for me, a long time. The last time I saw stuff like that, it was in Georgia, and it was in 1996. It wasn't that long ago, but it was long enough for me to think it wasn't going to happen again, especially here in California. Is this what we're going to be looking at if we don't get a handle on this? Brandy?
I believe so. I would be interested to know, I mean, just from the people on the line, what your parents taught you about other races, because this is stuff that has been handed down through generations. We didn't just wake up to blacks not liking whites, whites not liking blacks, the Latinos. We didn't just wake up like that. This is information that was handed down to us, and then we go hand it to our children. And unless they make a different decision, guess what's going to happen? They're going to hand it to their children. So my answer would be yes, because what happened is, if you took me right now and a person came and lifted me up and totally put me in another house in another chair, I am now forced to look at the world in a different way. It was not my request that this person came and picked me up, took me probably kicking and screaming. I was called at my hotel when I was out traveling, and they told me, pack your bags. This is your last class. You're going home indefinitely. I was forced to look at the world monetarily, the way I was going to make money, in a different light. And I'm also available to now look at different issues where I wouldn't even been able to be on this call. I would have been probably either on an airplane or traveling in a car. So it makes us more available to see, oh, I might need to speak up about that. Maybe I do need to be involved about that. And one last thing, my daughter, you know, my daughter, Naya, remember Precious Naya? She's 19 now, where when she was 9, her dad was letting her make decisions so that she would feel empowered, right? She wanted her to feel empowered. Well, now she's 19, giving us those decision-making skills, and they're not all faring out too well. And he's trying to push back and say, no, don't do that. But for 10 years, you've let her be the boss. Now she's using the empowerment that you gave her, and she's not totally making the best decisions, but she thinks she is because you gave her that power. So to take the power back 10 years later, it's really a tussle. It's up in the air, and we as parents, you know, we take it day by day, but that's what's happening. You've allowed a system, and I'm quoting someone, I don't know their name. They said the system is not broken, it's working just the way it was planned. This was planned to work this way. So the system is not broken. We're now our generation, all of us are saying, wait, this is not right. Something is not right about this. And we have to set a new trajectory, or yes, 10 years from now, we're still going to be dealing with the same thing.
Let me go to Jacqueline real quick before we go to a break, because Jacqueline has said that same quote, Brandy. She's told me the system's not broken. It's doing what it was designed to do. And we're going to look at some of that today, because there is actual evidence of that. Jacqueline, what do you have to say before we go to a break?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like you said, I've been saying that for quite some time now. It's systemic. You know, everybody's been throwing around the words systemic racism, systemic this, systemic that. But it's true. If we look at history and we look at the events that are happening now, or even the laws that we have now, they're all the same. They're just worded differently to make it seem a little bit more where people accept it more, because they're like, oh, it's not that bad, because it's kind of, they changed it a little bit. But if you look at the history, it's all the same. This has been going on since the beginning of America. So it, like she said, like we're just now seeing it as it
Okay.
was meant to be.
And when we come back from a short commercial break, we're going to be talking about those very laws, the Jim Crow laws, qualified immunity, and a boycott that changed history when we come back.
Are you ready to hear about the most amazing competition coming your way? It's the Gifts of Talent virtual competition where you can dance, sing, act, do comedy, all in the comfort of your own home. And a portion of the proceeds goes to feeding the youth. You have a chance to win some amazing prizes. Have fun!
To enter, go to whalerscreation.us, or, for more details, go to socialmediashows.com and hishopnation.com. Or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to get updates, and to vote for your favorite talent.
We are now reaching our second year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social Media Shows Network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episode celebration, and $100 giveaway. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more details. We are now reaching our second year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows.
Welcome back to Truth Talk. We're in the middle of a very passionate conversation, and we're talking about how the past monumental events reshaped history and how that can be equated with some of what we see today. And while changes are good for those who are fighting for it, those same changes can equally be responsible for limiting the freedoms of others. In fact, we want to talk about qualified immunity. This is something new. Jacqueline brought it to my attention. So Jacqueline, I'm going to pass it to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so qualified immunity is something that a lot of us are just now learning about in a little bit more detail lately, since it's been a big topic of discussion. So I just want to go over, the beginning of qualified immunity, because like I said earlier, we have to look at history and compare it to right now. So from what I've learned, when it comes to the African American history, qualified immunity was a very big deal for our constitutional rights. We have the Section 1983 that did come out in 1871, which stated that free African Americans were able to sue law enforcement or judges if they felt like there was wrongful acts against them racially. So a lot of people, of course, were suing left and right and doing their best to say, hey, I have a constitutional right to, let's say, ride the same bus as somebody who is not colored as me. But there's just one instance where you had the freedom rides, right? A few years after the freedom rides started, there was a group of priests, and they decided, hey, let's exercise our constitutional right to ride the bus. It was mixed races, and they ended up being thrown in jail and fined for doing so. They decided to exercise the Section 1983 and sue the police. The judge for that lawsuit, they said, no, we're going to throw it out. It doesn't really matter. So then I do want to say, because they actually brought it to the Supreme Court, and they went against the police and the judge as well. And so 8 out of 9 of those judges said, they're immune. And basically, this one lawsuit created what we call now qualified immunity. It says here, the judge said, their claim is rather that they should not be liable if they acted in good faith. So when qualified immunity started, if they said, no, this was in good faith, I felt threatened, any type of feelings that they had toward that person, they could say that's how I felt, and then the case would be dismissed.
All right, Jacqueline, let me interrupt you there, because that's a good point. We've seen that in the Trayvon Martin killing, where the law said, if you feel threatened by someone, you have the right to shoot and kill. It's a feeling. Those feelings can be biased based on our belief system and our experiences. Bill, what do you think about this? You're a retired police officer and working police.
The Trayvon Martin thing is not qualified immunity, though.
Right.
What she said was absolutely correct. It's the proper history. I learned that in police academy. That's exactly it. It's a dangerous thing, though, when you're trying to fix stuff, because people are always trying to fix stuff. I actually come to the point of view that most people are trying to make things better. Not everybody. Most people. Sometimes they mess it up really bad. Okay. So you got to be careful what you fix. And because sometimes it hurts more people than what was hurt in the first place. And since we live in a sinful world, there's a lot of bad. Now, the Trayvon Martin thing, he was not a law enforcement. He wasn't a government agent or anything. So he doesn't qualify for qualified immunity. The way it works out, at least I can only speak for California law enforcement. I cannot speak for anybody else anywhere, because I don't work there, never did. I grew up in California. The only time I've not lived in California was I was in the Army. I grew up here and I love California. So, but this is how it works out in real time. And I've watched people get prosecuted. I've seen cops be prosecuted in my couple decade career for breaking the law. Okay. And they don't get to hide behind it. Nobody lets that happen as far as our DAs and our judges in California. I can't speak for other places. What it means is this, and I put this real simple so that people can get it. I'm not allowed to drive over the speed limit in a patrol car unless I have a reason to do it. Okay. So if I have to overcome, you're going 95 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour speed zone, I have to try and overtake you. I am not breaking the law by going and getting you. Okay. I'm not doing it. I have in the scope of my duties, I can go try and I can break the law. That's the wrong way of saying it. I can exceed the speed limit. Okay. Now, I can't hit anybody with a baton. I can't just tase anybody. I can't spray anybody with my pepper spray. Okay. Walk down the road. Wow. I don't like redheaded people. I'm going to pepper spray that guy. I can't do that. That's an assault. That's against the law. I will go to jail for doing such a thing. However, if you are actively resisting and you doing something that's, whatever, I'm just saying, I've had people grab my gun. I've had people hit me. I had a person bite my partner this week, right on trying to get his thumb, trying to bite his thumb as hard as he could. And because he did not want to go to jail. And that happened this week. All right. So people do that. If I pepper spray that guy, I'm in the scope of my duties and I'm not assaulting him. It's not the same thing. That's really how it works out. Now, you can apply, you can do something wrong and say, I did it for a qualified immunity reason. Your lawyer's going to say that, by the way, because by the way, every time something complains about it, it does go to court. This isn't something that just gets swept. You get federal people involved sometimes and everything else. It does go to court. So then your lawyer speaks for you and then somebody else's lawyer speaks. And then a third party decides, well, was that a qualified immunity situation or not? I'm driving down the road for no reason. I'm doing 85 miles an hour. I run into a car. You can sue me. You can absolutely sue me. I'm breaking the law. There's no reason for it. Even if I have a reason for it, but I don't put the lights and sirens on, you can sue me personally. Take my house away from me. You can do it. It's been done many times. If I'm chasing somebody who's running from the cops and I have the lights and sirens on, and then I run into you, you can't sue me from my house because I'm in the scope of my duties.
And I think that
works out in real time, so to speak.
In a great society with honorable people, that is how it's supposed to work out, right? But Jacqueline, what do you say about that? Like, we understand like that's how it's supposed to work, but there's a question about this law because it often doesn't work that way. It's often scaled to the side of the police. Jacqueline, what else do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, right? If the immunity worked in the way that people like to say that it should be, it wouldn't really be a topic of discussion. It wouldn't be any type of issue for anybody. But within the African American community and low income communities, it's abused. It's a power that is abused. And we are seeing it be abused every single day, especially with the recent murders that were very unlawful. It is currently being abused. So it's more of a system that has a lot of gray area, and it's not, okay, this is right and this is wrong, and we're just going to go with it that way. There's a lot of gray area where people say, well, it could be wrong. It should be wrong, but we're not going to say that it is wrong.
Well, I just have to say though, Jacqueline, that I personally have seen cops get prosecuted for it, and their lawyers always argue. Everybody has a lawyer. I don't care what you've done, you get your lawyer, and they're going to argue your side. And some people believe it, and some people don't. And I've seen people not. So I've seen both sides. I have.
Yeah, and I think it's something that it is worth looking at for solutions because I just have this quote. It's from Justice Sonia Sotomayor. She said it is a disturbing trend of siding with police officers who use excessive force with qualified immunity. It's just sanctioning a shoot first, think later approach to policing. Further, she said, we have not hesitated to reverse courts for wrongly denying officers the protection of qualified immunity in cases involving force, but we very rarely intervene where cases wrongly afford officers the benefit of the doubt. And that was just an Reuters report in 2020. So it is something that is being looked at across the country as part of the problem, not for law-abiding officers, not for law-abiding government officials, but for those who say, hey, I can do what I need because this is going to be my defense in court. And there are an alarming number of people without ethics or morals that are using this. In the state of Massachusetts, the state Senate is taking aim at the conception of qualified immunity, and they are trying to do a reform bill for sweeping police that would allow officers to be held responsibly on a personal level for misconduct on the job. So I think this is something we need to continue to look at and look into and see how do you change this without affecting the police and the authority that is doing it by the law. How can we, is there a way to do that? Because all cops are not bad. They're just not. But how do we protect the ones in society? When we come back, I want to talk to Bonnie about the Jim Crow laws. Thank you, Bill, for being here. I know you have to leave at this break, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.
Yes, next week.
If you let me come. Okay, great seeing you.
All right, thank you.
We are now reaching our second year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social Media Shows Network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episode celebration, and $100 away. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more details. We are now reaching our second year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social Media Shows Network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episode celebration, and $100 giveaway. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more details. We are now reaching our second year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social Media Shows Network's 2-year anniversary, and 100 episodes celebration, and $100 giveaway. No purchase necessary. Go to socialmediashows.com for more details. Social Media Shows Network were initiated in 2017. Since then, our founder Maria Pereza never stopped developing a system on social media, in building a network of passionate people that loves to entertain, coach, help others, and deliver informative information to the public, informally, in a low-cost production. She built.
And we're back. And during the commercial break, Bonnie was sharing that she had found some LA Times articles about qualified immunity. Bonnie?
Well, one of the things that I think is really important moving forward with rebuilding the trust between people of color, minorities that that feel that they're, for example, pulled over in traffic stops more often than white people. I think that we really need to look at the statistics there, and that one of the things that is a tangible thing that can be done is that careful records need to be maintained, because if you keep the records, then we can look at it and say, hey, maybe even if this is not an intentional bias, we can see for sure that there is actually a bias. And so the LA Times article, this was from October 2019. They took the data that was available. I guess there was a California law targeting racial profiling, and they looked at numbers for the LAPD, and they found that it says LAPD stopped more than 385,000 drivers and passengers in a 10-month period. Nearly 3/4 of those who were stopped were Black or Latino. And you know right away that that's an issue, because 3/4 of our population is not, it should be the same proportions. So if 14% of the population is Black, then 14% of people pulled over should be Black.
Well, that would mean every one of the Black people were pulled over then, wouldn't it?
No, it means that proportionally the people, so if 100 people were pulled over, 14 of them in theory would be people of color if there was zero bias. But if more than 14 out of 100 were pulled over, then you know that there's got to be some sort of bias. And another indicator of that is if that number goes down after dark, when it's harder to tell who's driving the car and what, their complexion is, that's also an indicator. And there are studies that show that is true. Not only that, but after the stops, Black and Latino drivers were searched at a higher rate, even though it turned out white people actually had more contraband proportionally. So it's interesting to look at that. And then when you also look at the complaints about racial profiling, there was another LA Times article about the LAPD, and there were more than 1,300 complaints about racial profiling. And after they did an internal study, internal investigation within the LAPD, they took action on 0 cases. And that says something to me that even statistically, there's got to be at least one case, right, where somebody was just blatantly out of line in a department that large, in a city that large, and to have 0, that was just.
But doesn't this take us back to the statement, Bonnie? I think that I've not seen that report and or that article, and I think it's right there in our faces. How can it be denied, And that's why the conversation has to stay up and has to keep going. Joseph Skoda wrote in a comment, where do we go from here? And we're going to do that. We're going to say, how do we get out of this? Where do we go? What solutions can we be part of? And we're going to start that starting next week. But before we go there, we have to look at how did these statistics happen? And you made a comment earlier that this is the way the system was set up. If you want to know that, the Jim Crow law, let me tell you, that is how the system was set up. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I just want to share this real quick, and then I want your input on this. It says the Jim Crow was meant to marginalize African Americans by denying them the right to vote, holding jobs, or getting an education or other opportunities. Those who defied the Jim Crow laws were faced with arrest, fines, jail, violence, and death. Now, right after the slavery was abolished, they started putting in these laws, and it's called the Black Code. The Black Code. And it says this, tell me if this doesn't sound like today's society, how the system was set up. It says strict local and state laws that detailed when, where, and how former slaves could work and for how much they can get paid. The codes were approved through the South as a legal way to put Black citizens into indentured servitude by taking away their rights and controlling where they lived, how they traveled. It says the legal system was stacked against Black citizens. Why? If you want to know why the Black community in general doesn't trust the police, this is why. Because the judges and the police system was set up and formed by Confederate soldiers to make it difficult for African Americans to win court cases and ensuring the Black Code would still go on. It says this, Black offenders typically received longer sentences than their white or equal parts. They had less defenses, less money, and stayed longer and received longer sentences. I don't know to you, but to me, that's still going on. That's when we talk about how the system is still set up that way. Now, how do we do that? How do we do that? Let me tell you where, I'm sorry, I got another note and trying to answer the questions. But So let me ask you this. How do we come out of this? Because like we said earlier, if you're trying to fight for one section of society, it's going to hurt the other section of society. It's not going to be where everybody gets along and says, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that. So we have to really be in prayer about God, to God. What is our role? What steps can we take to ensure that we are working on this together, regardless of race or sex, social, economic values? What can come good out of this, out of the riots, out of the protests, out of all of this discussion, out of the police needing to defend themselves when they shouldn't have? You know, let me share one thing. It's the Montgomery bus boycott. Last week we talked about ending and not ending short, but staying the long haul, staying the course. That this is a race that is going to be run over miles, not a sprint. And this Montgomery bus boycott proves it. It went on from December 5th, 1955 to December 20th, 1956. So it went on for 1 year, okay? It happened 4 days after Rosa Parks sat on the bus and refused to sit in the back of the bus. And what happened from this year boycott changed a movement, a society. It's where Martin Luther King rose up from. He became the face and the voice of someone fighting against racism and equality for all people. Martin Luther King didn't just want equality for Black or African Americans. He wanted it for everyone equally, because God created us equal and he wanted that to happen in our societies. What I want to see come out of this, because everybody's saying, where are we going to go with this conversation? Well, I hope God raises another Martin Luther King. I hope there's another face in our community that can come and gather people and speak not unity in the way we use it today, but really speak looking at lives of everybody, every culture, every race, every marginalized citizen. And how can we make the authority, well, see us, hear us, and value us? That's where we need to go from here. I appreciate you guys so much. It seems like an hour just goes by so fast. And, you know, I think we didn't get past where we wanted to today, but that means that we had a good conversation and good dialogue. We had people commenting. So thank you. If you're listening to us online, please join us next week. And, you know, let us know what you're thinking. We have so much more to talk about over the next 2 weeks. But this is what I want to say in closing. Being able to have dialogue that challenges us and creates room to see other people's perspective is part of the change that we need to see today. This right here, not happening everywhere. And I thank you for that, for sharing honestly. But I also challenge you who are watching. Look at yourself and the community around you. Do you see what we're talking about happening in you? Do you feel it? Do you see it around you? Like this person who sent in and was faced with that horrible graffiti. She went to her Congress. She went to her council members. And she said, what are you going to do about this? Take the time this week and look around you. Do a deep dive in your own heart. Like Jacqueline asked before, where did you get this from? I think it was Jacqueline. I'm not really sure. Maybe it was you, Brandy. Where did you get this from? You weren't born like this. You were influenced to think against one another. That's proven time and time again. So take the time this week to think about solutions. Let us know what you think we should do. Give us your links. Give us your viewpoint so we can present them here on Truth Talk. Thank you so much and have a blessed week.
Social media shows network were initiated in 2017. Since then, our founder Maria Pereza never stopped developing a system on social media, in building a network of passionate people that loves to entertain, coach, help others, and deliver informative information to the public, informally, in a low-cost production. She built a platform that surpassed Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and other social media live streaming, but exceeded the function of a podcast. Her main goal is to be able to broadcast on social media like a traditional TV setup involving a group of broadcasters, YouTubers, podcasters, and social media live streamers. Maria is building the confidence of non-actors and non-famous people that joins her to network. We are here to promote and support one another, to help our community grow collectively without inhibitions but with confidence and high self-esteem. We love to be in this family together. Our door is open to help you build your brand, opening opportunities for others, and outreach to our community. We welcome you to the family of social media shows. We are now reaching our second-year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations.